Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday afternoon. We're just waiting for our other students to join us virtually. Now, as we're waiting for other students, we'll start like in about 2 or 3 minutes. We can share in the chat your name, the school you're currently going to, and then which pathway or which credential would you like to pursue. You can share that in the chat with us. We'll start in about a minute or so. I hope everyone has their lunch. Feel free to eat your lunch right now. I know it's lunchtime, so feel free to eat your lunch or have your favorite some water, coffee, or tea. Okay. All right, well, welcome everyone. Before we officially get started with today's session, a few house rules. If you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat, and then we'll try our best to answer them or guide you to someone that may answer them. Feel free to join to add in the chat your name, the institution that you're from, and which pathway you're interested in. We are currently recording this session, and the session and the PowerPoint will be shared with you through Teach for LA. I believe they'll be sending out an email where they'll have all the recordings and PowerPoints in one location for everyone to access sometime this week or next week. And then you will also find you have access to the live transcript, so you could turn on or off the subtitles for Zoom if you need to read the subtitles. They are accessible to all of you right now. So welcome everyone. My name is Wendy Muzien. I'm the Outreach and Recruitment Coordinator for the College of Education. And I'm not the speaker today. Our main speakers are actually our student ambassadors that are currently in the liberal studies program. They all have different pathways and different journeys. So I'm happy to have them share their journeys and basic information about our pathways here at Cal State Long Beach. So I'm going to pass it on to Chloe, and then I'm going to have them all introduce themselves during this time.
Yeah. Well, I was actually going to pass it to Arnaizia and let her share first. That way I can continue with the end.
Hi, everyone. I'm Arnaizia. I'm a third-year liberal studies major. I am currently applying to the UDCP pathway. So you guys should know quickly, we're going to go over in the PowerPoint, but the UDCP pathway is pretty much our special education and our multi-subject credentials. You get 2 credentials at once. So that's currently what I am doing. Alia?
Hi, everyone. My name is Alia Medrano. I am in my senior year, my last semester for my liberal studies. Next year, I will start a cohort You Teach 1-year program. We will talk about it more, but I'm super excited to be here with you. By the way, I went to LBCC. Woo.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Chloe Haynes. My pronouns are she, her, and her. And I am a 3rd year here at Cal State Long Beach. I am one of the student ambassadors, like we all are here. And I'm also in the ITEP multi-subject credential program. So essentially what that is it allows you to earn your multi-subject credential, which allows you to teach K through 6 while you're doing your undergrad. So yeah, getting my credential and my undergrad at the same time. All right, and once again, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you being here and learning more about some of our programs here with Cal State Long Beach. So if any of you are transfer students, you plan on transferring to the beach, and you have maybe some questions about the transfer process, or you want to speak to a student about their experience at Cal State Long Beach, well, first off, visit your community college counselors, because they are able to answer questions about the transfer process and requirements for your school that we may not be aware of. And then second, if you want to speak to one of the student ambassadors, I know Alia mentioned she's one of our ambassadors here that she did transfer. So maybe you're like, oh, I know she transferred. I wonder what she went through. You can use this link here and you can actually schedule an appointment to meet with any of us. That's a great way to also just hear like from a CSULB student what our experiences have been, or just general information like that. So feel free to, it's a bit.ly, it's like a calendar thing. And from there you can schedule appointments to meet with us and get information. So yeah. Right, so you kind of already heard us refer to some of these terms, but we have more. So this is kind of a glossary just to help you all understand or be like, she said this earlier, what was that? What was that? So first we have Postbac. And so this is referred to as a program that's completed after your BA degree. So you come, you graduate with your BA, yay you, and then after you graduate, you want to come back for something like your credentials. So this is Postbac, post-baccalaureate. So post your undergrad. Then we have the BA pathway. This is often referred to for students pursuing a liberal studies BA only from CSULB. So we do have programs where you can get your credential and your BA at the same time. BA pathway is when you just get your BA. You're like, hey, I'm just here, I'm gonna graduate and I'm only gonna get my BA. That's all I want. That's the BA pathway. So yeah, we also have the ITEP pathway, which stands for Integrated Teacher Education Pathway. This is what I'm currently in. And this combines both your teaching credential and a bachelor's degree all in one program when you graduate from CSULB. So I'm planning on graduating in spring 2023. And when I graduate, I'll have my BA in liberal studies, and I'll also have my teaching credential. So yeah, that's the ITEP pathway. And then we have MSCP, which is multi-subject credential program. And this is the credential that is required to teach an elementary school. So if you want to teach elementary school, then you need a multiple subject teaching credential. So yeah. Oop, sorry. Okay, so first, we're kind of gonna go over liberal studies, what that is, what some of the requirements are for that, and then we're gonna go into the BA and the ITEP. So we have various pathways, you know, like I mentioned, you could just get your BA and graduate, or you can get some credentials along with that. So we're gonna go into that. And then what you can expect towards the end of, you know, your program, whether you're gonna reapply to CSULB, whether you're gonna do some exams, whether you're gonna teach, all that stuff. So that's kind of on the agenda for today's meeting. So first off, what is liberal studies? So liberal studies is basically elementary teacher education major at CSULB. And it's for all the students who want to pursue one or two of the undergraduate teaching credential pathways. We have the BA pathway, liberal studies BA, like I mentioned earlier. And then we have the integrated teacher education program, ITEP. So yeah, we pride ourselves on really offering rigorous coursework with really good faculty and early clinical experiences in local school districts with hands-on advising that begins even before you arrive on campus. You can speak to some of our advisors. So yeah, you're probably like liberal studies, not liberal arts. You might be a bit confused on that. Liberal studies basically just means elementary teacher education. People ask me what's your major, I'm like, liberal studies, like what's that? I'm like, it's elementary education. That's me. So yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, so liberal studies requirements for transferring. So if you want to transfer to the beach, here are some things that you need to have done beforehand. You need to have fulfilled your written communication. You can do that by taking some of these courses. I've taken these. These are like kind of more undergrad courses or lower like GE level courses. You can also take oral communication comp 130, that's recommended. I also took this. And then we have various English lit classes you can take. There are multiple of these. You just need to take one from each of the categories. They're just multiple options. So don't worry if you're like, I haven't taken all 5 of these things for just English lit. You're not supposed to. It's just one of them. So yeah, and we also have math classes. We recommend you take MTED, which is math education. And then also critical thinking. There's multiple options for this. And early US history, we have history 172, and then political science class, poli sci 100. I actually took my poli sci 100 at LBCC, so yeah, even though I'm a CSULB student. And we recommend that you have a minimum cumulative GPA of a 2.6. Also, if you have any questions at any point, feel free to like put them in the chat or maybe unmute. Sorry if I don't quite see them. I don't always have my chat up when I share my screen, but yeah, and one of us can answer them. So part 2, BA/ITEP. So we're going to go over some things for the BA program and some for the ITEP. That includes concentrations, overall how to apply for the ITEP program, and the various pathways within ITEP. There are choices even within that. We got endless options here at the beach. So BA versus ITEP. So I mentioned this earlier. So the BA only pathway is the traditional teacher education program where students complete their bachelor's with liberal studies. And then after graduation, they can choose a various Postbac program to complete their teaching credential, either at CSUB or another university. So if you're like, I just want to get my degree right now, I don't want to really focus on a credential, that's totally fine. You can come to the beach, you can transfer to beach, graduate, and then maybe like a year or so, you're like, you know what, I want to apply and I want to get my credential. You can come back to CSULB, you can go to Fullerton, you can go to other colleges, you can go to Dominguez Hills. There's a bunch of other colleges that have programs, so you can go anywhere. Although obviously I'm biased, but the beach is pretty good. So yeah. Then we also have the ITEP program. So ITEP is a pathway for students that want to earn their teaching credential while they're currently doing their bachelor's degree in liberal studies. So this is for people that are doing their undergrad right now and they want to get their teaching credential at the same time. This is what I'm doing just because I know myself and I don't really want to go back after I graduate to get my credential. I just would rather do it all in one go. But that's just me. Maybe you're like, I need to take a break after this. Then maybe do the BA pathway. It's totally up to you. Yeah. So this is only for people that are liberal studies majors at CSULB. And typically you would apply to the credential program in around your junior year at CSULB. And then the credential program and student teaching like that is already embedded and it's a part of the things in the classes you're going to take in your senior year. So it's important that you kind of apply in your junior year. That way you're still on track to graduate in time. All right. So liberal studies core requirements for both BA and ITEP. So regardless, if you're like, I don't know if I want to do BA or ITEP yet, that's okay. You have time. Here's some core requirement classes that you're going to take regardless of which pathway you choose. So we have language arts. You're going to have about 7 language arts classes, which includes literature, communication, and composition. You're going to have math classes. There are 4 math classes, which include real numbers, probability, and statistics. You're going to have natural sciences. These include earth science, life science, and physical science. And you're going to have history and social studies classes, which is 6 classes, including American and California history. You're also going to have arts and humanities. So this is 5 classes, a music, a dance, or theater, and a visual class. And then you're going to have credential issues in teaching and learning. So these are 8 classes, which include like a health science and a kinesiology class for learning. So the way I think about this is it's kind of like you're still in school. You have your math, your English, your science, your history, your art. And then on top of that, we just take teacher education courses. Because what are we going to be? Teachers. So we need to know how to teach. So that's how I think of that. All right, so if you're doing the BA concentration only, yeah. So if you're doing the BA only, then you can pick a concentration because you'll have a couple like leftover classes. The BA is only like 101 or 102 units, and in order to graduate from CSULB, you need 120. So with those leftover units, you can pick a concentration. And this is basically just where you take extra classes in this field. So you can choose education and take extra education classes. You can do science, history, performing arts, math, language, arts, and human and child development. So this is where you would basically take extra classes until you hit that 120 mark and you are able to graduate. And some people can also get a minor in it too. They can get like a minor in this along with that. It's just a thing. But yeah. you don't have to. And then if you're like, you know what, I think I don't want to do the BA, I want to do that ITEP thing you were talking about where I get my credential, and here we go. So like I said, the BA is normally like 100 for all the core requirements that I was talking about a couple slides ago, about 101 to 102 units. And then with those leftover units before you hit 120, you're gonna choose an ITEP pathway. So we have the ITEP multi-subject credential program, which is what I'm doing. So this allows people to earn their multi-subject credential with their undergraduate. Yeah, it's kind of like the most like the first step, and the rest are kind of like that, but adding on a little something else. So in case you're tired of hearing me teach, we have other people, or to hear me talk, we'll have other people that will talk shortly. We also have the ITEP multi-subject You Teach program. So the You Teach is similar to multi-subject in that students are going to earn their BA and their multi-subject credential, but this time you're in cohorted groups. So that means you're in groups. So you're going to be taking classes with the same people for your credential and going to the same classes with them. It's a cohort program, and that's how it's different from the one right there.
Yeah, and for the You Teach, one thing that's really unique about the You Teach, which I am going to be interested, besides taking your student teaching, at the same time later on you'll be taking your teaching methods courses. And one thing that's unique about this program is that I don't have to go to campus. The teachers are going to come to me in the classroom setting where they're going to teach me what I need to know. And usually you'll teach from like 9 to 12, and then after that you have like that lunch break, and then after that you have the classes. And it's really cool because they're only about like 3.5 hours long. After that you have like your day. And one thing it's really unique about this, because it is a cohort 1-year program, I get to be in the classroom with the students the whole entire year. So I feel like you're getting really the inside scope of what it's like to be a classroom teacher for a whole year. And so I'll get to see them grow. I'll get to see them development. I'll get to see, you know, classroom management, all those tips that need to go that you think about. And sometimes it's like, there's other student teaching that are a few months, but this one is like, you know, the whole year. And that's what's really unique about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that, Alia. And Arnaizia, who's one of our other student ambassadors that's here with us on the Zoom call, she is going to do the ITEP UDCP, and so she can speak a little bit about that.
So for the UDCP, it's also the pathway I'm interested in going. And like I said earlier, this pathway will allow you to get your BA, so your bachelor's degree, a multi-subject credential, and a special education credential. But there's a difference between the UDCP and the ITEP dual. And the only difference is for the dual is your own pace as an undergrad. So depending on how many courses you want to take that semester, you would take. And then the UDCP is a cohort. So as Alia was saying, the teachers come to you, you be on the school grounds, and pretty much you will try to finish in that 2 years. It is an extra year for anyone that's interested in that pathway. But to let you know, you do get 2 credentials at once.
Yeah, so like Arnaizia was saying, it is an additional year, but you get 2 credentials, and that's still faster than if you were to graduate and go back and try to get 2 credentials. So if you're like, oh, an additional year, it's still faster than trying to do it after you graduate. And yeah. And then we have ITEP dual, which is where students on this pathway earn their BA and multi-subject in special education credential programs, and it's at their own pace. So it's similar to the ITEP UDCP, except it's not a cohort, and it's at your own pace. So you can do it up to your speed and how you would like. And yeah, and then we also have the ITEP multi-subject VILA, which is really popular for a lot of students. I believe.
Yeah, and with the VILA, so it's pretty much a bilingual authorization. So pretty much right now, a lot of schools are including dual immersion schools. So for example, Spanish, if you know that you're a Spanish speaker, then this is something that you can kind of look into. So, you know, you just have to take some extra courses plus take the CSET, because, you know, they got to know that you're able to teach this. So right now, this is the big thing going on. I know, like, for example, Long Beach has been transitioning a few schools into the dual immersion. And also with this, it gives you the opportunity to do student teaching in English and in Spanish. So you get both double. So I think it's a really good opportunity there's other languages available. I can't think of the other ones, but Spanish is one of the hot ones right now. And really quick, can someone with the BA enter in the BLA program? For that one, you would have to come back as a Postbac, and you do have to take some of those classes with the, depending your major. If it's not like liberal studies, then you have to consider also the SEABEST too. And you also have to take the CSET.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Thank you for that, Alia. This is also, I know that at least I've been told by other teachers that if you do have bilingual authorization, that makes you like really marketable, and they're often looking for people that do have this authorization. So that's definitely a perk as well. Yeah. All right. I feel like we shared a lot of information right now about these various programs. So you might be like, oh my gosh, I don't even know. What is this? There's so many things. Just know that we have informational sessions on this a lot about the various ITEP pathways. So this isn't the only time you're going to hear these, so don't worry. And even when you transfer to Cal State Long Beach, you don't have to go straight into an ITEP pathway. So you'll still have a bit more time to think about it and kind of just, yeah, really just think about what you want to do and things like that. So for the admission process to the ITEP program, if you're already, I went through this recently, if you're already a CSULB student, it's a bit easier because you're currently enrolled in CSULB, so you're already a student. Whereas if you were to graduate and come back for one of the programs, then you're coming in like any new student would because you've already graduated. For the most part, you have to have, I believe it's like 1 to 2 recommendations from somebody. You also have to just fill out like, you know, a form with your information. Also a personal like statement as to why you want to be a teacher. There is an interview, but the interview, don't let that scare you. We also offer interview prep and things like that. And then there's some other things you have to provide proof of, like that you got one of the shots, I can't remember which one, but yeah, and we have all this information on our website. So that is another useful task too, then you can refer to it. So yeah, feel free to go to our website. Yeah, it is the TB test, yeah. All right. So we move on to the next slide. Okay, so reapplying to CSULB as a postbac student with the BA in liberal studies. So I mentioned if you were like, you know what, I just want to graduate and get my BA, that's totally cool too. If you do that, so you're gonna graduate. So yeah, graduated, yay me. Now I'm gonna come back for a credential. If you do that, you're gonna be coming back like an entirely new student. So first you need to complete the CSU Apply application. You know, Cal State Apply, some of us might remember that, or might be going through that now. So you're gonna have to submit that. And that's due June 1st for fall admission and November 1st for spring admission. And a basic skills requirement for the application is not necessary. Yeah. Second thing, so complete your program admission packet. So here are some of the things that you would need for this. You know, your GPA, an interview, 1 to 2 letters of rec, personal statement, certificate of clearance. That's just like fingerprinting, you know, making sure that you don't have like a record or things like that. And then TB test within the last 4 years, basic skills requirements met. This can be either with the SEABEST, some ACT or SAT scores can substitute for this, or so can some of your coursework can also substitute for this. So if you've done certain classes, either a C or better, then yeah, that kind of makes you exempt from that. And then other requirements are specific for certain credential programs, they might ask you to do more. And if you do come to CSULB and get your BA in liberal studies, some of the credential co-requisites and prereqs are embedded into that program. So if you do reapply, you might have to take potentially less courses because you've done some of those things already in your undergrad. Right now, how to apply to ITEP. I mentioned this briefly. Here we go. So here's more detail. So submit the packet prior to the deadlines. You must have a GPA of 2.7 over the semester, or 90 quarter units, or a 2.67 overall. Completion of basic and passage of an oral interview with faculty. And if you're like, oh my gosh, an interview, that's so scary, we actually offer prep for the interview a lot here at CSULB, so we'll prepare you for that. Don't be concerned. Verification of basic skills requirement, like I mentioned, this can be met through coursework, SAT or ACT scores, or with some of the testing that is done. Valid certificate of clearance and current TB test verification. Successful completion of prerequisite course EDL 200 with a B or better. And then for BLA, students must complete the CSAT in Spanish before beginning student teaching. Yeah, and then the multi-subject credential application is submitted internally through the Teacher Preparation Advising Center. So that's another thing we have here at CSULB. We have a whole advising center just for teacher prep. And so they can also give you like advice for classes or help you pick out your schedules. They can also help you with the credentials. I know when I was filling out my ITEP application, anytime I had just even the slightest question, or it's like, they're asking for this, what do they mean by that? Or like, wait, so the deadline is this day, right? Just any tiny question, I would hop into drop in advising hours on Zoom. It was on Zoom at the time because it was deeper in the pandemic. And yeah, they would just answer it right there and then. So I really, really recommend this. It's really helpful, and also just make sure that you have everything in your application together. You know, you don't want to have to apply multiple times because maybe you just missed a small step. So you can go to them, they can like look at it and be like, you have all the steps, you are okay to submit it now. So yeah, all right. I will move on to the next slide. Okay. So California Basic Education Skills Test. So this is, like I was saying, the completion, or wait, no, just kidding. The verification of basic skills. So basically, this is the SEABEST, which is a standardized test just to make sure that you have the basic skills required to teach people. Essentially, that's what that is. So you can meet this through one of 8 ways. You can either satisfy it by having a specific SAT or ACT score. If your score was a certain range, then you don't have to take it. This can also be through AP scores. So if you've taken various AP classes and you pass those AP tests, then you don't have to take it. And with coursework, so coursework is a newer thing that they're allowing. It was actually through the coursework that I was able to get to not have to take my SEABEST. And essentially it's for your math and your English classes. Yeah, so here we go. So 3 sections for reading, mathematics, and a writing. Oh, my bad. This is not the test. So basically, for some of your math classes and your English classes, if you pass them all with B or better, then you are exempt and you don't have to take the SEABEST because that shows that you have the skills necessary. So yeah, if you don't satisfy, if these things right here, my bad, if these things I was talking about right here don't necessarily fit you, or you have it in one category but not in another, you need them in both areas, then you will have to take the SEABEST. But not to worry, okay? So there are 3 sections of the SEABEST. There's a reading, there's a math, and there's a writing section where you're gonna have to write 2 essays. And you can take them separately or you can do them all together. It just depends on you, your schedule, and your pacing. If you're like, I don't want to do all that in one day, that's fine. You can do them separately. So you only need to take this if you're applying to a teacher credential program, or you're seeking employment in a California school district. So even if you're not trying to get your teaching credential, if you want to become a substitute teacher, you would need to pass this. So, or you're applying for issue or renewal of an emergency permit. So if they issue emergency teaching credential permits, then you would need to pass the SEABEST. Yeah, so needs for basic skill requirement when applying to the credential program. So for transfer students pursuing ITEP specifically, or typically in your second semester, that might be some of you in the near future or in the future, you should take this if you haven't already met the coursework qualifications or some of the other ways you can become exempt. And yeah, the Teacher Preparation Advising Center here at CSULB offers free online SEABEST preparation for the course and practice opportunities. So we have ways that you can practice for this, and we have like study sessions and things like that. So we will prepare you if you need to take this exam. It normally costs around $41 for a paper test and $101 for a computer-based test. Yeah. You can also Google this and find out more information if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't absorb all of this right now. Totally fine. There's no need to worry. All right. So we're gonna take a bit of a brain break. I feel like I've been throwing a lot of information at you, and now we're gonna see if y'all are paying attention. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna pause my share really quickly, and I'm just gonna my Padlet ready. All right. Just a second. All right. Thank you. So in the chat, there is a link to a Padlet. Feel free to click on that. Let us know if you're having issues accessing the link, but please click on that. And we're just gonna, the Padlet just has information about, you know, kind of some true or false questions there for some of the things we've gone over today. So just to kind of clarify your understanding, check for it, and just overall help you all. So yeah. Feel free to start filling that out. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna pause my share and I'm gonna head over to the Padlet and see what y'all are typing. Okay, we have some responses. Okay, y'all are doing well. Okay, you were listening. All right, nice. Okay, so I'm actually gonna resume my share now, and I'm just gonna go over these quickly. So, a Postbac student must reapply to the university to be admitted into a teaching credential program. You all said true, and that is correct. So remember, you're coming back Postbac. You've already graduated. You said, cool, I'm gonna graduate. Yay, you're no longer a student once you graduate. That means you need to reapply to the whole university for the teaching credential program because you graduated and you're no longer a student. So ITEP students must choose a concentration. False. Nice job, y'all. You got it. So remember I said ITEP and BA. So if you're doing an ITEP, with those extra units, you start taking the various teacher credential courses. So you don't need to choose a concentration because with those units, what you're doing is taking teacher credential courses. Now, if you're doing a BA, with those extra units, you can have a concentration because you're not going to take credential courses. So only BA people have a concentration. ITEP people do not. All right. In the Cal State Apply application, applicants only choose liberal studies major. Yes, that is correct. I know I probably should have gone over this a bit more. I mentioned it in the beginning. So I know at various schools and places it might be called other things, but at Cal State Long Beach, if you want to be an elementary education major, it's called liberal studies. Basically means like liberal studies. Some people think liberal arts. No, liberal studies. And that essentially just means you know a bit about all the things, which is essentially what elementary education is. You know, we can teach anywhere from K through 6 in all the subjects. So liberal studies, you know, a bit about all the things elementary ed. All right, so ITEP allows undergrad students to obtain a BA and credential and teaching credential. Yes, you guys said true. That is all correct. Yay. So that's the program. Yeah. ITEP basically lets you get your teaching credential with your undergrad. And then the last one is CSULB Liberal Studies Program BA or ITEP waives CSET in multiple subject. So y'all said true. That is correct. Yeah. So in the liberal studies program, the ITEP or BA, we don't have to do the CSET. We do the CBEST, which is what I was talking about. I know this sounds similar. CSET, we do not do that. It's just CBEST. And even then, depending on some of your coursework, you might not have to take the CBEST. So yeah. All right. I'm gonna flip back to my PowerPoint. Thank you all. Yeah, you all did really well. Yeah, you got them all right. Yeah. All right, sweetness. So hope you enjoyed that, Padlet. I hope it was helpful for you. So I'm just gonna go into some pros and cons for the BA pathway. So for the ITEP, you do receive your credential with your undergrad. So you pay undergrad tuition for your credential, which is kind of nice. You know, you're not having to do 4 years of paying undergrad tuition and then come back and pay additional tuition for your credential. It's just all in the same go. And you also don't have to do the entire reapply to the CSULB for the credential.
Chloe, we have a quick question. Go ahead, Renee.
Yeah, I saw. Feel free to go for it.
Chloe, I'm just wondering, I see on the side that you say the post-bac units can potentially affect salary. I know people who went to ITEP programs and none of their units counted as graduate units. So then they did it faster and then they got paid less than every other person on staff. So I think it's so important. Like, we want people to expedite their process, but we want to know that those units are going to count, because when you're a K through 12 teacher, you get paid based on every unit post-baccalaureate. So if all of your units are pre-baccalaureate, look at a salary schedule. You'll be locked at the bottom until you go back to school. So I just would like to hear a little bit more about that salary piece, because ITEP is a great pathway for many reasons, but there's also some kind of challenges unless your community, specifically with your districts, has worked on negotiating an equal salary schedule. The majority of California districts do not have that negotiated, and people who do the ITEP pathways end up getting paid less until they go back to school once they're a teacher. And so I want to make sure that our students are making the most informed decisions. So if Long Beach has that agreement where they're getting credit for those pre-baccalaureate, you're like their BA units, that's great. And if they're not, I think we need to make sure we say that as well, because we want everybody to be informed as they're making those decisions.
Yeah, exactly. I think you actually did a good job of like explaining and going over that. Wendy, I saw you turned your camera on. Did you maybe want to elaborate a bit on this, or?
Well, kind of piggybacking on what Renee was saying, we have come across some students, even from our program, where we have to talk on their behalf with the district. It's actually a good idea. I'm going to ask if there is any agreements within like Long Beach and the districts to see which districts are paying the appropriate fee increase of salary for those that go through the ITEP pathway. So that's actually a great question to ask even internally for our university and other universities, to see how is that communication with the university and what we're offering, but then also the districts and then what they're paying. I know Long Beach Unified School District, they get a lot of our ITEP teachers later on, but what about all the other districts out of LA County? So that's something that I'm going to ask internally here just to get that information, because I honestly am not sure which districts accept and don't accept. I'm just hearing back from certain students that came back requesting support while they're applying for certain jobs at the district.
Thank you so much, Wendy. We're working on that at the state level too.
Mhm.
Just like comparison wise, I had a student who did a traditional pathway, and they ended up finding a credential and master's combined program that they're still working on the master's piece, but they were able to kind of go at the same time. And they started at $54,000 annually. My students in my community who go to the ITEP program start at $38,000. So it's a $16,000 difference. And so it's significant, so, and that's, hopefully that will not be the case much longer, because we're working on fixing it, but hopefully at the statewide level, because we need teachers, we need them to move fast through the system. But if the Long Beach students can be aware and you can be advocating, that's great too, because we need it. We want people to be able to stay in the field because they make enough money to pay their bills. You know, we can't say, oh, it's out of the kindness of my heart if you can't meet your mortgage. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Or
definitely.
you can't afford to buy a car. We can only be so kind, teachers, okay? We need to be able to make livable wages by all means. Thanks so much for letting me chime in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so definitely, no, there's some little differences in these both pathways, and it's really up to each student to see what's the most beneficial pathway for you. And then I see, the university doing their part to provide that information, and also understanding the districts and how they're paying our ITEP students compared to those pursuing just their post-bac afterwards. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's a really good point as well. So yeah, so that's one of the pros of getting your BA is that the units that you've earned when you came back from getting your BA to get your credential will affect your salary and raise it. And another one of the perks is that you can also substitute teach after you get your BA. That can be an option before you get your credential. So, if you want to like graduate doing the BA option, and then maybe you want to substitute teach for a while, to like just solidify and make sure this is what I want to do, and then you go back for your credential, that's an option that you can do as well. Okay, so what to expect towards the end of your program. So, you've been in your program for a couple of years, you're kind of nearing the end. Oh my gosh, what's life gonna do? What am I gonna do? What's happening? Here's what's happening. So you can be student teaching, you can be substitute teaching, or you can be applying for jobs depending on your program. So you'll be applying to student teach. So if you're applying to student teach, students will apply to student teach during the last semester of their credential program. So I plan on graduating in spring 2023. So that's next spring. So fall 2022. So next fall is my last semester of like my coursework. So I'll be applying to student teach then. That way in my very last semester, it will just be student teaching. And then students will be placed at a school. And yeah, for student teaching, students will be placed along with one grade level, and then students will also attend school on the school's schedule. So, when they get spring break, you get spring break. When they get winter break, you get winter break. The Mondays they have off, you have off. You're going to be there based off the school schedule. You'll also have to submit TPAs. So California has TPAs. Student teaching will prepare you to take the Cal TPA, and there are 2 cycles, and each cycle is $150. So this is when you like submit. I have friends that are currently student teaching, and one of the TPA deadlines was just recent, so they've all been talking about this. And that's kind of when you submit like a lesson plan and like a video of you teaching and things like that, just to show like, look, I know what I'm doing, I can do this, and I'm qualified to be a teacher. So for substitute teaching is also an option for BA pathway students only who are looking to apply using a 30-day sub permit. So you can get a 30-day sub permit, and students who get a 30-day sub permit can substitute. You must show proof of a college degree and satisfy the basic education skills test, which is the SEABEST we talked about a bit earlier. And then you just have to fill out the application and get fingerprinted. And then, yeah, you can be a substitute teacher. I know people that do that for years, and they actually really need substitute teachers right now. So maybe that's a good option for you. And then overall applying for jobs. So maybe you're like, I'm going to apply for jobs. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a teacher. There are various websites. There's EdJoin, there's Teach California, and also school districts websites. A lot of the time they will put, if they are seeking various positions for teachers on the school district website, yeah, this has like information. I can search for the district, LBUSD, LAUSD, ABC, USD. For Teach California, it helps teachers find jobs in California. So there's a link to the website there. And then EdJoin also helps teachers find jobs throughout the US. You can see current job listings, and job fair events. So that's like overall throughout the US. And then Teach California is like just in California. Maybe you want to go to NorCal or somewhere else within California. And then if you're like, I know I want to stay within this SoCal area, these are the couple districts I want, then you can look for those districts and kind of get into that aspect. So teacher preparation, advising, information. So you're like, okay, this is cool. Now I need to do the things. Oh my gosh, what if I have questions? What happens? So then you can contact or email CED and then the dash LBST@CSULB.edu. You can also call our phone number here at 562-985-1105. And yeah, this is for the Teaching Preparation Advising Center that we have here at CSULB. It's very helpful. And if you have any questions, like I said, when I was doing my ITEP application, I would just come across questions, or it was more like, I'm 90% sure that this is what it is, but I have anxiety. So let me get that last 10% cleared up. And you can drop into advising and they can answer your questions. Yeah. And then why should you contact TPAC, as we often refer to them, the acronym. They can ask questions about classes, applications, deadlines, transfer requirements, etc. Especially for potential transfer students, this can be really helpful too, because you want to make sure that, if you want to come to CSULB, but you aren't quite ready to transfer, you want to make sure that classes you're taking in the future will help you transfer and will transfer. And you also want, so you're not taking the same class twice. Final tips and information. All right, so first year advising. All transfer students in their first semester must meet with college advisors to review university resources, overall information, schedule planning, and graduation pathways. We also have peer mentors here with liberal studies, peer mentors that assist fellow students, and they can be reached at this email. And then ITEP or BA, you do not need to decide now. I know we went over a bunch of that information. We went over a lot today. So if you're kind of freaking out and you're like, I have no idea, oh my gosh, information overload, do not worry. It's all good. You don't need to decide now. Just maybe start thinking about it. Think about like, do I really want my credential right now? Do I want to go back? Just think about that, but you don't have to know your pathway and know all the things. Because by the end of your junior year and maybe the beginning of your senior year, that's when you apply, or you have either selected your option and you're solidifying that. So yeah. And to follow the ITEP pathway, students mark ITEP on their credential application. And we also have the liberal studies website. I have this bookmarked. I do. Just Google CSULB liberal studies. It's so useful. There's so much information on there. I constantly find myself looking and finding new stuff. And I mean, I've been a student for 3 years, so I really recommend it. I cannot recommend it more. Yeah.
Renee, are you still here? Renee?
Yes, sorry,
Hi.
I'm here. Sorry about that, Alia.
It's fine. Someone asked in the chat if they can contact you, so I was wondering if it was okay to share out your
absolutely
email or
absolutely. I'll put it in right now, Alia. Another thing too,
okay.
I would highly suggest if people could just wait to contact me till Thursday, because right now, like just in between sessions, I get like 20 or 30 emails about the conference that I'm like working on. So definitely, Brianna, shoot me a message on Thursday, or if you write me today and I don't write back by Thursday, just respond and send me another message on Thursday. Okay, I will absolutely answer any questions that people have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for attending this information session. So now's the time. If you do have any questions, feel free to let us know. Also, here's our email. And if you are like, oh, I thought of a question 2 days later and you want to reach out to us via email. You can ask us there. We also, in the beginning of the presentation, and I'll put that, I'll go back to that link. You can schedule an appointment with us. Follow us on Instagram if you want. Yeah, we put information on there about our various advising sessions and information. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us there. If anyone has any questions, feel free to go for it.
Yes, I have a question. Hello,
Yeah,
can
feel
you
free
hear me?
to. Yeah, I can hear you. Feel free to go for it. You
Okay.
can either type it or speak it.
Okay, so I'm gonna be transferring to CSULB next semester from Long Beach City. Thank you. And I was wondering, I do want to do the ITEP program. It is a little concerning of what they were mentioning earlier about the pay difference. But like you said, we don't need to decide now. But if I do want to do ITEP, I don't need to know that for sure before like I start having my orientation and things like that.
Yeah, you don't need to know that for sure, or anything like that, because when you transfer, which by the way, congratulations. I love that. Love your plan. So when you do have you're still gonna need to take some other classes here, maybe do like, depending on how much you transfer in with, you'll still need to do maybe a semester or two of coursework before you're even eligible to take the higher level classes that are in the ITEP program. So you don't have to choose right now. You don't have to go in with it. It's just something to maybe have on your mind and start thinking about. But this is not something that you need to worry about and keep you up at night. Yeah, you don't have to worry about it right now.
And then and Alia could attest to this. Your first semester here at Long Beach, you'll have a mandatory transfer advising meeting with our liberal study advisor. So they'll go over everything again, the different pathways, when are the deadlines to choose a pathway or just a BA. So we're not just focused on officially completing everything to transfer to CSULB, and then you could continue to consider those ITEP pathways in the fall semester.
Perfect, thank you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And out of curiosity, when would I start getting emails about orientation and things like that?
Probably around June.
More like after May, like
yeah, June.
Maybe like the second week of May.
Yeah.
So it depends also when you're you accepted, because I got mine's around early May, and you just have to pick a date for when you do SOAR, and then later after you do SOAR, you'll get an email from our liberal studies advisors, and then you'll have to pick a date with them. So that way, because if you don't do the transfer mandatory advising with them, there'll be a hold. And then because you are a transfer student, you do sometimes come in with higher units. So like your second semester here, that's when you should start looking into applying for the ITEP program.
Got it. Thank you guys.
Of course, thank you so much for asking your question. So I put it back to the slide about the transfer process. And this also is the slide right here. This is the link to Sam's student ambassadors. That's what we are. And this has the link to book an appointment with us. So yeah.
I have a question. So I used to go to Cal State Long Beach, but during the pandemic, I transferred to LBCC for education reasons. And I was just wondering, because I used to be a liberal studies major over there too. And I was wondering, is it the same since I used to go there? Do I have to do the whole process of reapplying again?
That's a good question. It depends if you took leave from the university. I think your best option will be to talk to enrollment services.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll put in the chat how to contact them.
All right.
Because then they'll be able to let you know. Because I'm not sure if you took official leave. You know, some students take official leave, finish some coursework at the community college, but then they're able to come back since they left as an official leave. We actually had a student ambassador in the past who left CSULB because she actually switched majors. So she did her coursework at a community college closer to her home in Central California, and then for liberal studies, and then transfer in. But there was something different with her, she told me. So enrollment services would be your best option to talk to in regards to the whole transferring back and forth.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll put that in the chat right now.
All right. Thank you.
And just overall, if you think of a question later and you're like, oh, I'm not on the Zoom, free to schedule an appointment with us or reach out to us. I know our information got put in the chat there. Yeah, so feel free to do either of those things.
Thank you everyone for joining us. We're reaching the 1 p.m. mark. So if you need to prepare for class, work, or any of the other sessions that start at 1 o'clock, feel free to go prepare. Hopefully you'll join us if you're interested in becoming a middle school or high school teacher. I'll be hosting a session tomorrow just to explain how to get started in that pathway as a transfer student or community college student. Thank you, everyone.